Hello and welcome to Turn. Ooh, let us quickly rename that. Oh no, I'll just hide it. That's what I'll do. To Turn 3 of Season 2. I hope you are all doing incredibly well post this Halloween of 2025. Spooky times about. I appreciate each and every one of your patience in waiting for this turn to come about. An extra week has passed. For last week, your dear prince, me, the storyteller of City of Cards, was at a mighty wedding. I had a phenomenal time. But I have been incredibly eager to see the shenanigans that gets up to for October, because tensions are up there in the Boston, in the city upon our hill. On the hill? The city upon a hill. Not our hill. Not the hill. A hill. The SI are out and about, stalking the streets. Tension particularly between the Society of St. Leopold and the group are rampant. Close calls, many interactions and fear-mongering has been occurring in the south of Boston. Well, I say the south of Boston, in the mid, just not quite yet north. In the north of the south, there we go, of Boston. Tensions against the SI has been quite high overall, but that's not the only thing. For those who believe it, their minds worry about the great, harrowing Gestalt, who are stalking the Shadowlands of Boston and piercing the veil, or the Great Beast, as the knights who champion its existence call it. But let us not wait any longer, for you guys have been incredibly patient waiting an extra week. Though you have made good use of it, you've used this time to scheme, you've used this time to ponder how you would conquer your ambitions in Boston. So let us discover who among you will be proceeding first in claiming your ambitions. Click the initiative button. Alright, Redcoats have rolled a 2, so they're lower down. The Patriots have rolled a 5. The group have rolled a 5, so that is tied with the Patriots. The Knights have rolled an 8, which I believe is actually a 9, because they have +1 initiative. I have not yet worked out the automatic math, so that is a 9. The Gemini League are 2 down here. The Custodians are 3, which I believe is a 1, yeah, which is why the red highlight, but a 3 because of their +2. Gideon. Not a great roll, but despite it, because they're controlling of 2 of the drop-offs for the Coterie network, they +2 initiative in total. The Knights roll mighty high with a 9, 8 + 1, thanks to their +1 initiative crew upgrade. Moving on to our favourite NPC factions, the Boston Camarilla soaring ahead at number 10, First Light. At number 8, the Society of St. Leopold at number 6. So we're going to roll off between the group and the Patriots. Whoever rolls highest, the group. Patriots on the left, the group on the right. That is a 9 for the group, a 5 for the Patriots. And we will see who wins out at bottom place. Gemini League on the left, Redcoats on the right. Redcoats go before the Gemini League. And we begin with those same knights champion the existence of the harrowing Gestalt. Now, we have no assists this turn, which is an incredible thing, because usually we have assists, but this time we do not, nor do we have any trades. I think that's the first time in a long while where we've had both no assists and no trades occur. So nothing that has to happen before we move on to the faction actions themselves. Let us quickly apply your bounty of passive generation. I'm just checking, what does the Exalt Mystic Station provide? One tick to a long-term project lock. Not a rep. No, I want to make sure I got that right. Indeed. Okay, so 1 XP, 1 coin, minus 1 contempt, plus 1 to a long-term project lock. That we don't have a long-term project for that to go to. They haven't assigned that anywhere. So I will hold that in reserve and ask, in case, does the group, who is it that is allied with the Knights? I'm pretty sure it is the group and the Gemini League. That is correct. So technically, the group, do they have any long-term project clocks? Not that they've already finished. I do not believe the Gemini League have any long-term project clocks. No. So that tick is going to go nowhere, unfortunately. But we are moving on to the actions. Action 1 by the Knights will be to resolve the harrowing Gestalt haunting at South Shore Plaza. Yes, the Knights have become quite adamant to show up to these hauntings and put them down. So they are going to perform the resolve event action, which will be to roll mental. Let's see how well they do. Are they spending any coin? They are not spending any coin to provide a bonus to this action. They are simply rolling mental. We shall see how they do. No bonus die. That is a 6. A mighty 6. They learned from their very first encounter with the Gestalt, and are now rolling a 6. So that is, if I scroll up just to check, only the reward, which means they get only 2 contempt and 5 XP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 XP and 2 contempt. Harrowing Gestalt is put down at South Shore Plaza and is no more, for it has been resolved by the Knights. You might even remember this one. Indeed, right, for only Queen and the Theodore, who is, his title is fleetingly, I know it. It's on the tip of my brain. Oh, that's going to bother me. That is going to bother me. He is the enforcer for, I believe, oh no, I'm completely blanking on this one. I am utterly embarrassed by this. So much so that I'm going to pull up character descriptions and get this right. The Bloodhound, that is right. The Bloodhound for the Capulets. He is the enforcer of the Capulets. So one Capulet and the leader of the Pentecosters, Queen, are the only ones who remember the encounter, their very first encounter with the Howard Gestalt. Let's see if the second encounter any more remember from this. They've earned the rewards that they have gained here, and their second action will be to resolve the Mortal Crown event at the Isabel Stewart Gardner Museum. Now, this is a domain controlled by the Patriots, and in their text on Discord, they have made an interesting statement. But first, we will see how well they do at this. What they are going to do is resolve this event by rolling a social roll, for it is a mortal crime event. The knights are engaging with mortal crime, doing a very social thing, interacting with criminal elements. Oh my gosh, are they performing a heist at the Museum of Fine Arts? I mean, First Light is watching them, but this will yield them 2 rep and 2 XP. Oh, this is exciting. I want it to be a heist. That's my request. You don't have to follow up with that request. If it's something else, if you have something in mind for the Knights, fair enough. But it's a museum, it's mortal crime. You're socialing your way. Interesting. Maybe the Knights are providing the distraction for a criminal element to perform a heist on their own. Let us see. Me too. I do suppose a particular French heist is on my mind at the moment. It is come on, it's in the air. We've got to roll with the punches. You've got to be inspired by events. Take it as you strive. Let's see how well this goes. Nowhere near as well as their ghost busting duties, but nonetheless the event is resolved, so that is 2 rep and 2 XP gain, but I believe that is 2 contempt. It is indeed gained as well, so 2 more contempt gained. Not great. Not great. We go to the Museum of Fine Arts and we remove this event from the board, for it is now resolved, and remove the little tag on the side. Make sure that I do not increase the scrutiny on this domain later on in the day. And yes, in the Discord, it says here, well, there is a lacking of saying of it, that they are not paying the coin to maintain the status with whom the domain is owned by. The Patriots own the Museum of Fine Arts, and there is no coin being paid to maintain that status. So, between the Patriots and the Knights, the relationship is reduced by 1, from 0 to -1. Indeed, an interesting turn of events. No tax paid, and the Patriots, I imagine, are quite frustrated at that display that the Knights have performed on their domain. How rude indeed! How rude indeed to Inoni. We shall see what the consequences of that are to come. For the Knights are not yet done. They still have the Blaze of Iron to get out there and do things. The Patriots are your top 2 favourite antics. Are they the top of the top 2 or the bottom of the top 2? I wonder. Now, we'll see. For the Blades of Iron are going to disrupt the investigation at Santarpeos, risking senior living at Bellingham Hill. So we will roll for the cohort. There is no bonus dice here. That is a 4. We spend 1 coin for them to perform that action. They're definitely up there. Up where? Up at the top or up at the bottom? If you could be up at the bottom. You're being evasive. That is an interesting stunt to deck. No, I tease. But that is a 4 from the disruption investigation, which means we remove 1 tick and gain 1 scrutiny at the risked domain. So they are disrupting the investigation, and the only investigation that we can disrupt is First Light for Society St. Nobody. There's no progression in their investigation. So that is 1 tick per First Light. Not fair, man, not fair. Removed from their investigation clock. And 1 scrutiny gain on Senior Living on Bellingham Hill. As my page loads. Come on, Kumu. Kumu has been struggling today a little bit. Come on, Kumu. You've got this. I have faith in you. There we go, buddy. Gains 1 scrutiny. From 3 to 4. There we go. Now, that brings us to the end of the Knights' actions, which means we roll entanglements, and they are at 4 contempt. So, oh, my apologies. Because they performed a disrupt investigation action, they gain -2 contempt because the Knights are being an invaluable asset to the Nighttime Society as a whole, thus reducing their contempt by 2, so they are only in the 0 to 3 entanglement bracket. Let us see what the results of their actions are. Gain +1 scrutiny to a domain. Now, how many domain do we have here? Quite a significant amount, I think. So, this is how I'm going to count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to change that. I'm going to go from like height down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is indeed the only domain that the Knights possess, right? Apart from all these little tiny havens that are about the place, those aren't domains. Those are just points of interest, relevant to the narrative, to the RP, and just for your appearance sake. So if you want to see where the havens are on the map, you can spot them. But yes, these are the only mechanical game domains possessed by the Knights. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Appreciate y'all's patience and me making sure I get that right. We put in the number 8 here and we hit enter. It is number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chelsea Clocks is the domain that gains the scrutiny from this entanglement, going from a 4 up to a 5. Now, we close the Knights faction sheet, for they are done for the month of October, for the turn 3 of Season 2 of City of Cards, and we move on to the group who've written us a juicy narrative. The streets feel different lately. The streets, they feel different lately. Each kindred in the south side of town sticks to the shadows and leers at anyone passing them by. I'm just messing with a few things. Or slowly drives through the streets, one person at each window checking the street corners in case they need to speed away at a moment's notice. William remains in the public eye, but often with a rotating posse of kindred, speaking in hushed voices to them, asking their views, and planting the seeds of an idea. The only way out is through, and things will need to get worse to get better. Salter has been doing lock-ins after midnight. No standing out front, no standing outside at all. They close all the shutters and lock them closed with meshed metal and added heaps to the front and back doors. And lock them closed with meshed metal and added heaps to the front and back doors. An iron shell sitting in the south side. The hum and rumble of loud music still audible despite being unable to see in. Every night, at least once, a specific song plays and apparently seems to be forming an anthem for Salter. I'm gonna reset the volume there. Hateful glances, violent dances, vigorous rumours and gossip mongers, all the mind games and pointless slander will not help us to achieve our goals and dreams. We are one, united, bonded. Let us be friends. A means to the end. Let us be friends. A means to the end. How dramatic. How mighty. And I realised I played the wrong song in the background. So, to make it up for it, we will play this song, the correct song, as I proceed in the turn. The wrong means to the end was being played in the background, so you're getting 2 for 1 here. Here at City of Cards Turn of Free. This is one of the group are the top 2 favourite anarchs. Indeed, they play great rock songs, all by the same name, apparently. But now we're getting the accurate one, the one that has that lyrics at the very end. Let us go proceed with the rep gain, the resource gains. There is no long-term project for these ticks to go into, unfortunately. So, we will proceed onwards to the first action that the group is performing. Yes, you can mock me in the chat, that's totally valid. I realised that at the very end. I was like, there shouldn't be lyrics at this point of the song. I've checked. Now, we are going to reduce contempt and roll social to do so, as the contempt for the group are pretty high at the moment. So, we will perform the reduced contempt action while this rock song of Means to an End by Doom plays in the background, vigorously, thrashing our heads back and forth. The only way we know how to reduce contempt is not very effective. This head back, this thrashing of heads back and forth. Don't know if every kindred appreciate hard metal rock the way the group does at Salter. We only reduce 1 contempt, for that is what A3 generates. Their second action is to perform a upgrade domain long-term project action at Pine Street Inn. Ooh, indeed. They're getting away. They're getting on board with tending to Pine Street Inn, putting up these shutters, putting up the barricades, manning their fortifications against the encroaching Second Inquisition and Leos that are coming for them. That they think they're coming for them at the very least. It feels like it, the tension is up there. So we will roll mental to see how many ticks in this clock is generated. Gosh, this rock song in the background is intense. It's very different from what we usually play here at City of Cards, but it's for the effect. We rolled a 4, which means they gain 2 ticks. And I am going to edit this, clear this clock, put 2 ticks in, and type in here, Pine Street Inn for the upgrade domain clock they got here. And they are already a quarter away from getting these fortifications up. And last but not least, we're going to bring that to back because we have more rock. We're not done. More metal getting from the doom that is coming in. We're spending 1 coin for the Boston Irish mob to go out there and reduce scrutiny at the City of Hall. So we're rolling the cohort. There's no coin being spent for a bonus. And that is a 6 for the Irish mob. Does an excellent job at reducing the scrutiny, the incredibly high scrutiny, I will say, at the City Hall. So that is 3, so 7 becomes 4. And thankfully, the City Hall is now no longer at the verge of falling under investigation. Never has a turn gone this hard before, indeed. Maybe I think the Irish mob could get behind this now. I think they could. I think they could indeed. I think they could absolutely. Have you ever heard a bit of trad, heavy hitting bass? It's good stuff. It's good stuff. If you haven't, if you want a bit of a taster, I would recommend having a nosy at the most latest Netflix series, The House of Guinness. Gives you a little bit of a taste of what that is. I think the Irish mob would appreciate this. So, that is a 6. That is 3 scrutiny removed from the City of Hall. And that brings us to the end of the group's turn. So we must now look at the contempt, see that it is within this 4/5 contempt bracket, and click on the entanglement button. Pay shun level +1. The shun level is 2, so it's just 1 coin to the lowest stats faction. Oh no! Our -1 status with that faction. Has the time come? Has the time come? For I have an order which I believe. Ooh, did I keep that in my... Oh, this music's perfect for this. Oh, okay, yes. I'm pretty sure I have standing orders from the group that if this was to occur, for the lowest satisfaction of the group is none other than, of course, the Society of St. Leopold. So, as this heavy metal music plays fiercely and vigorously into the night, the preparation for fortifications is well earned. And we reach -4 between the Society of St. Leopold and the group, which means we have our very first conflict in City of Cards. The Society in St. Leopold and the group are in open conflict with one another. Blows would be felt between the two factions in the coming turns. Their war goals for this conflict will be laid out between now and next turn. We shall see what the consequences of this hot drama, what the consequences of this fierce tension that's been risen between the church and the fierce business criminals of Boston. There may be fighting on the streets. There may be stakes plunged into flesh in the dark. There may be daylight raids occurring in havens. The group will be on high alert and very occupied in the coming turns. And I imagine there are many a kindred in Boston who will make the most of this opportunity. for a conflict in Boston between two factions will never, ever be limited to those embroiled in battle. And because it is a battle between human hunters and kindred predators, I doubt this conflict will be one of words and debate in courts of kindred law. Terribly, terribly exciting turn. And it's only just beginning. So, as this music of tension plays behind us, we move on from the group and to the Patriots, two and only JG's other top 2 anarch factions in Boston. He hasn't provided us details on who is the top of the top 2, but we will ponder that as we perform the actions and generate the resources that passively generate for the Patriots 1 rep and 1 XP. I'm just double checking. There is no narrative for me to read out from the Patriots. And their very first action will be to reduce scrutiny at the combat zone. So, as the Society of St. Leopold and the group begin to go at each other, probably most likely all in this area down here, the Patriots are making their damnedest to make sure that the SI don't spend any more attention to their precious, precious prize that they have managed to pull away from the hands of Beryl Underwood. They are cordons and barricades, which means they roll physical instead of mental, as they use their police influence to perhaps prevent with physical bodies and coppers in blue hats and barricades and cordons, using physical instead of the mental stat to reduce scrutiny, which is 2 dice instead of 0 dice, which I imagine will be very valuable in this roll. Let's see if it's effective though. No bonus dice. That is a 5, which means they reduce the scrutiny by 2 to a very big total, or small, depending on the way you want to look at it, of 0. They have completely cleared the scrutiny at the combat zone. A high objective of theirs, in fact, that they want to complete, for it is a faction objective of the Patriots and their spider nest to maintain 0 scrutiny in the combat zone. So, because this has happened, once all their actions have been performed, if it doesn't generate any scrutiny on the combat zone, we will gain a tick to their clock, which needs a clock. Spider B. Faction objective. How many ticks? 6. 6 ticks. There we go. We'll move that at the top. 4. That is a faction objective. So, their second action has a couple if ands, and because the scrutiny at the combat zone is at 0, it means, oh, and also, my apologies, Masquerade Wardens, when you perform either the reduced scrutiny action or the disrupt investigation action, gain 1 XP, that's 1 XP gained. They are performing another reduced scrutiny action at the Charles River Yacht Club, another domain of theirs, which I believe is also quite high. So, because they have got 0 at combat zone, they are making the most of this opportunity to also maintain the scrutiny, get the police over there to keep this conflict between the Saint Leopold and the group from spoiling over into their own domain. They are at 4. That means we reduce it by another 2. So 5 becomes 3. There we go. And another XP is gained. Now, I feel like, I feel like St. Leopold would understand if you tried to explain what group, pun intended, we belong to. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Just because 2 makes a very, 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 very good point. Just because it is the group that is being targeted by the St. Leopold doesn't necessarily mean the St. Leopold hunters can always correctly identify which kindred belongs to which organization. They might not even be aware of these things, of factions that you, or these coteries that you have. They just may see kindred, and it may happen to be the group that they are going after. We are sitting at 3 contempt for the Patriots, which means we're in the 0 to 3 contempt bracket. So we click the 0 to 3 contempt bracket. And we add 1 scrutiny to a domain. Oh! But because of the order of which this faction objective declares, they did have 0 scrutiny on the combat zone, so they gain a tick. And now we see where this tick of scrutiny goes elsewhere in their domain. So we're going to click on their domain. We're going to click on the Patriots to see, just show me only the Patriots domain. And we're going to go from bottom to top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wonder, can you see my mouse? Oh, no, you can't. So you actually don't know which ones I'm counting. I'll kind of highlight. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That way you can actually know which ones I'm referring to by the numbers. So that is the order in which this is going. We're going to roll a d8 to see 2. It is 2. Code Enforcement Police gains 1 scrutiny. All this Code Enforcement Police is also the same location, same building location as the Boston Police Department headquarters. So all these cordons and the police being used in the combat zone in the Charles River Yacht Club to keep the SI away, looking away, has actually unintentionally perhaps drawn attention to the police headquarters itself. Interesting. Consequences of consequences, there always will be, for kindred actions in the night bring about consequences. Custodians are up next. I'm reading this very late, but I appreciate the humour from 2. I don't know about that. Hunters aren't necessarily. I don't know if that's what hunters are famous for, but sure, if you want to say that. I appreciate your humour in these times of turbulence. 1 of every resource, positive, not necessarily negative, as contempt is, for the custodians. And their very first action, let me just double check. No narrative? No narrative. For the custodians. I hate it when my consequence. Indeed. Someone has to tell you about that up front. It's not fair if you get these without notice. Their very first action from the custodians will be to resolve the event at Sunko Logistics, which will yield them 3 rep. Lovely. It is a kindred dispute, which goes for their faction objective, I'm pretty sure. For I want to see a nice clean dispute is their faction objective. Now I want to see a good clean dispute, not nice. resolve a total of 10 kindred dispute elements, so I will quickly add that tick to that faction objective clock, and we will roll social to see how well they do. They are spending 2 coin for this, so they gain a bonus die for a total of 3 dice. That's a 5 on that. It was a... which means, because of their decisive action of -1 contempt, what would usually result in 1 contempt results in no contempt, because the grand total would be 1 contempt gained, and decisive action means 1 contempt lost. So that's their 2 coin spent, their 3 rep gained, filling out their rep bar, I see, and the event at the Sunoco Logistics resolved, meaning it does not gain scrutiny at the end of this turn. So that is the first action of the custodians done. The second action of the custodians will be to host a lovely reception for the Patriots. How kind of them to do such a gorgeous thing. A gracious, selfless, I imagine, I'm sure it's selfless, thing. They are hosting a reception, a party, if you will. Maybe it's not a party. It's definitely, they are welcoming the Patriot faction onto their domain for a bit of chit-chat at the bare minimum. So they are rolling, it isn't a hunt action, it's a host reception action. They are rolling social. So let us see how well this results. How well does this party go between the Patriots and the Custodians? That's a 6. It goes very, very well. And a 6 garners them only 1 contempt. So they haven't gained a shunt level yet. 2 XP. Nice. And 2 status. And both factions gain 1 rep. They have already filled their rep bar, so the Patriots gain that 1 rep. And they gain a total of 2 rep. Ooh, scrolling bar. Kuma, what are you playing at today? And all the Patriots and the Custodians are now back to being allies. This party, this reception, has solidified the alliance between the Custodians and the Patriots. Very well. Now, we shall see what the contempt, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 9 contempt results in consequences. Gain +2 contempt and +1 horn to a cohort. We just got out of a shunned level, but the Custodians can't seem to escape shunned levels, for they fill out their contempt tracker and increase their shunned level by 1, and then gain 1 harm to their Cambridge Easy Living real estate company, and they become weak. Ugh. They have filled out their rep bar there. They have a Primogen that can spend rep to reduce that shunt level. I wonder if that's what they're going to do next turn by any chance. And have their Toreador ally keep them out of the shunning perception of Kindred Society for too long. Get them out of that. Yeah, Custodians have a hard time keeping the narrative not being negative about them. It's quite interesting to see. But we move on to another faction that has a negative light, but not at the minute, not quite as negative as the Custodians and the Patriots and the Knights do at this moment. And of course, don't forget the Boston Camarilla last turn as well. Not every faction is viewed equally by kindred citizen. Now, the Redcoats. Juicy narrative to be read. May God defend me from my friends. I can defend myself from my enemies. Ooh, a name I don't recognize, but I'm going to attempt Voltaire. Google. I need thee to pronunciate. Pronunciation, please.
Voltaire.
Voltaire. There we go. A French. Was it philosopher? A French philosopher. I mean, he's speaking wise words there. Let me start from the beginning. May God defend me from my friends. I can defend myself from my enemies. Voltaire. Sir Humphrey Morris, a once prominent and regularly spotted figure on the Boston scene, has been on what could only be described as a short hiatus. Vanished from public eye and private life, perhaps he still maintains minimal contact with close allies, enough to confirm the fact that he was not dusted in the night by the Society of St. Leopold, or stepped out into the light. What Sir Morris has been doing in this time of this absence is a mystery. Was he plotting, meeting with secret contacts, simply avoiding the growing chaos of Boston? All that was certain was that at some night Sir Morris would return. The first action of the Redcoats is indeed to perform the claim domain action. Oh, and of course, to gain 1 coin, I forgot about their passives, is to perform the claim domain action in the Boston University, a claim domain clock that they have already begun. To do that, they roll tier. They're spending no coin. Well, they don't have necessarily the coin to spend on a bonus action, so no bonus die is granted. Let us see how well they do. That's a 1, so that is 1 tick. Which is why I imagine their second action will to be also to perform the claim domain action on the Boston University domain. Let us see how well they do here. That's a 3. Oh, 1 more tick. I mean, it is now guaranteed. Next turn, you're guaranteed this. Last turn was phenomenally productive for the Redcoats. Not every turn is going to turn out that same way. We move on to their entanglements, for they are at contempt 4/3 bracket. They will have a guaranteed claiming of the Boston University next turn if they so wish to pursue it. It is curious why they would want to go after such a distant domain to them. In fact, they have only acquired access to it through their swaying of the Primogen Delston coats. But nevertheless, we shall see what the entanglements of such a set of actions are. It is indeed painful. I hold sorrow for you. But we're going to have you pay 1 coin to the lowest satisfaction, or -1 status with that faction. You have the coin to spend on that faction. I wonder who it is this tax is going to. For let us investigate. The lowest satisfaction is between you and the custodians, and also you and the Boston Camarilla. Is it the custodians weaseling money out of you? Or is it a princely tax being levied upon yourself that you have to pay up? Indeed, indeed, I agree. It is a fortune that you did keep this coin as opposed to spend it on a cohort. For it goes to someone, and depending on who rolls higher, Boston Camarillo on the left, Custodians on the right. We will roll 2 d10s. Who rolls higher gets this coin. It is the Boston Camarilla, so it is a princely tax levied upon the redcoats. Oh, no, that was not the right place. That was a contempt. There's the coin into the vaults of the Boston Camarilla, and so closes the redcoats' turn. Progress made towards their ambitions. We move on to the final player faction of this turn, the Gemini League. We have a little tiny now, first 3, as they gain 1 XP. While the world spins chaotically in Boston, the League is using their time in this Macrobay month to organize their own affairs and set up their plan. They gain 1 XP. Their first action is to perform the Claim Domain action on the Connolly Container Terminal. Conley Container Terminal. That is over here in South Boston. This lovely little harbour area that services containers back and forth in and out of Boston. They already have begun this, I believe. Yep, they are 2 ticks into this clock. They are rolling tier, and they are also using their faction ability a lot for Salem. When performing the Claim Domain action, you may increase the target's scrutiny by 1 to add 1 tick to the targeted clock. So that 2 ticks becomes 3 ticks. And the Conley Container Terminal gains 1 scrutiny. Let us, before we roll the dice, have a reminder of what the thematicness of that faction ability is. For sometimes the most patient can become impatient. Sometimes circumstances change and moves must be made fast to secure something before another lays claim. And sometimes someone just needs to be taught a lesson in the truth of the universe. On these nights, the otherworldly power of the Gemini League comes on full display. Those who know the signs may take notice, but the deed is done regardless. Yes, they are using their magical ways to increase their hold over a domain, and thus they are rolling tier. And they only rolled a 3, and that was all they needed thanks to their faction ability and their scrutiny increasing. And the Conley Container Terminal falls into the possession of the Gemini League. So thus they have gained a domain, and their second action will be to perform the Claim Domain action on Winthrop Yacht Club. Yes, the domain in which they lost due to the investigation that the SI had conducted on their domain after the scrutiny of it became too high for the SI to ignore. So they are furthering this clock that they have already begun to get that secured. And again, a lot for Salem faction ability is coming into play, and we are gently increasing the scrutiny so that they were able to add 1 tick to that clock. And the same way scrutiny 1 becomes scrutiny 2, 1 tick becomes 2 ticks. And we roll tier to see how well you do here. That's a 2. That's only 1 tick. So we shall see their cohort. They're 1 tick away. 1 more action will guarantee this result. What does their cohort do? The cohort is performing a reduced scrutiny action. I see. Clever, they're spending a coin to perform a reduced scrutiny action at the Dean Winthrop house. Rolling tier cohort, because it is a cohort action, and +1 because of the Five Sisters domain. So they are countering the scrutiny gain that they have caused on Winthrop Yacht Club by reducing scrutiny for their cohort. +1 die thanks to the Five Sisters domain. It is only 1 scrutiny reduced, so a net gain of scrutiny of 0, which is positive in my books. 2 becomes 1. Now, we are sitting at 3 contempt, meaning we're at the 0 to 3 contempt bracket of entanglements. Let us see how well or how badly this goes. It's always going to go bad. It's entanglements. +1 scrutiny to a domain. Alright, they've gained new domains, so there is a total of 6 domain to count here. Let us click a button so it's easier to see. Candle points is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, someone did indeed beat you, and I will tell you, it was the very first faction that performed. That is true. 3 guesses to who? The very first faction to perform actions this turn, none other than the Knights. So that is why you have been focusing on domain claiming instead, which has gone quite well, I would argue. You've gained the Conley container terminal, but we are now determining for your entanglements which one of these domains gains scrutiny. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Domain in total is a 6. So 5. 5 Sisters is the one to gain this scrutiny. 3 becomes 4. We close the Gemini League's turn. We move on to the government, who gain 2 XP, 1 coin, and are performing a very, 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 very very simple action. They are going to increase their tier to tier 3 weak by performing the increase hold/tier action. So that, because let us scroll up. Not always that this happens, so we can remind ourselves. If your rep tracker is full and your hold is weak, you can reset your rep to 0, increase your hold from weak to strong. But the rep tracker is full and their hold was strong, so they can pay the new tier ×2 to increase their tier by 1, reset their rep to 0, and set hold to weak. So they're already increased to tier 3. The first tier 3 faction in this game is none other than the Boston Camarilla. And tier... Ooh, I've miscalculated. They can't actually do this, because they can't afford it. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, new tier ×2. 3 × 2 is 6. They cannot indeed afford this. My apologies. I apologize. Well, you know what their upcoming actions are going to be. Cough, 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 cough. Otherwise, they're going to perform a different action. A different action in which I initially had done as a secondary alternative, because I always have a backup just in case I've messed up. And this backup is to perform a sway action. A sway action with none other than a Toreador Primogen. That is correct. The Boston Camarilla have lost, well, the Prince Hazel, has lost sway over 2 Primogen recently, as in the past year, within the past year. And because of that, and because of particular needs of narrative control, Prince Hazel, and her praxis, is beginning to open up a dialogue with Primogen Hilda McAndrews to see how we can reshape the narrative going forward about the Boston Camarilla for the betterment and empowering of Kindred society as a whole. Now, I am going to open up, oh, let me have a nosy. If I do quickly this, Sheets for Google Sheets sign in, and I can show you because I can show you guys what the values for the Prince's sway clocks are going to be, because the Prince, yes indeed, the Prince herself has her own capacity to sway back Primogen that have been led astray from following with the Boston Camarilla. And with Hilda McAndrews, Prince Hazel and the Boston Camarilla faction has a sway clock of 5 ticks. So, for a 5-tick clock, so that will be a 6-tick clock with the first tick filled in, sway Primogen, Hilda McAndrews. 1 JJ. 2 Anoni JJ asks in the chat, if the Camarilla is swaying Hilda, doesn't that mean the Camarilla has access to Belle's ability? And would that then be able to increase their tier? Oh, you make an excellent point, 2 Anoni JJ. You make an excellent point. For Primogen Beryl Underwood, it's Boston's Bankroller. When performing the increased hold/tier action, half the coin cost required. Yes, they would. Which means, and I think maybe in this very moment, I'm not, maybe I'm a genius, and maybe that was what I initially thought when I wrote this actions a few weeks ago. That's what I thought. Thank you for correcting me. So, apologies for that back and forth, but we are back on track to the original plan of tier 3 weak, spending all the rep to do an increased hold/tier action, but because of Boston's Bankroller, when performing the increased hold/tier action, half the coin cost required, which means it is in fact 2 times 3 is 6, 6 divided by 2 is back to 3, only 3 coin is required. And the Boston Camarilla, I'm not too sure I did a good thing. Debatable, I imagine. I'll leave that up to you, player Kindred, in the Discord to decide whether the Boston Camarilla faction being tier 3 is better than them attempting to sway Primogen Hilda McAndrew to resolve their shun level. Now, we go to their lack of contempt here, of a 0 to 3 entanglement bracket, and roll to see what their entanglements for their action is going to be. Gain 1 contempt. Gain 1 contempt. And that is the end of the Boston Camarilla faction. And we move on to First Light's action, who gain a tick on their timer for their time to investigate Santar Pio is running out. For they are going to perform the investigation action at San Tarpeo. I'm probably not saying that right. I can't do Italian very well. I'm sure you guys are fully aware. My dyslexia means I typically read things how I perceive it phonetically. And my Italian phonetics aren't exactly up to snuff these days. But we will roll mental to see how well they do. Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Holy cow, guys! That is incredible! That is in fact a critical success. Oh, I am so excited for a crit. A crit when we come to tick clocks is 5 ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Despite your best efforts, despite all your poking and prodding and distractions from the First Light's attempt to investigate this, the First Light have found evidence that in fact there were kindred in San Tarpeos, and they are locking down the domain. It falls under First Light control. Shut the front door indeed. Our first investigation clock has been completed. Not started, for it has occurred in 3 other domains. Oh, we are in interesting times. The SI are growing ever more bolder, are gaining ever more ground. Society of St. Leopold are going after the group. First Light are locking down and controlling more domains. It is a scary, scary, scary time indeed to be a kindred. I think appropriate music is required. We shall now roll. Oh, I'm excited. I'm super excited. The entanglements for the First Light. Though they do indeed thrive in entanglements, for they are an SI faction. They are at 6 plus contempt. Lose sway. Oh gosh. Man, okay. This month, spooky month of October, has been the SI's month, for they are going to lose sway over a Primogen. They don't hold sway over a Primogen. They're going to use contempt 4/3 roll 6 entanglement if not applicable. And you all know what that one is. We've had it a couple of times this term. Lose status with the lowest status faction. They don't have any coin to give up. And First Light wouldn't give up coin to any kindred faction. Who is it that has the lowest status faction between them and the First Light? It's a joint tie between all of you are at 0. Oh, I apologize about your free pizza, but that free pizza is being confiscated by the CIA. First Light has kicked down the door. Well, I don't know if it's CIA. Maybe one CIA agent kicked down the door and has acquired free pizza now. But all of you are tied. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am going to roll a dice. 1 is Redcoats, 2 is the Patriots, 3 is the group, 4 is the Custodians, 5 is the Knights, 6 is the Gemini League, and 7 is the Boston Camarilla. 1, it is the Redcoats, which makes ever so sense and is incredibly thematic appropriate, for San Tarpeo was once a redcoat holding, but no more after it fell under scrutiny and investigation, and then under the possession and seizure by by the First Light. The status between First Light and the Redcoats has indeed decreased narratively, and it only makes sense, as Two and Only says in the chat, that it decreases mechanically. We move on from First Light and move on to the Society of St. Leopold. They saw all the Redcoat shaped pepperoni slices. What? Like, are they shaped like coats? Or are they shaped like your logo, the pepper? How? What is a Redcoat shaped? Oh, is it like the hat? Is it like the funny hat that the Redcoats wear? And with the musket? Is it like a silhouette of a Redcoat person with a musket in like formation? I don't know. Maybe they're just making stuff up. Maybe the pizza isn't really cut very well and it's not like round like you typically would have. The dough is just like god awfully splattered and they're like, oh, that looks like a Redcoat. That just happens to be, this is kindred evidence. No human would make pizza this shaped, this bad. Who knows? Now, the Society of St. Leopold. For they are going to be performing, well, I would show you, but the first line is that is fair. That is fair. They've confiscated the pizza. Society of St. Leopold had anticipated, well, tensions were high, and thus they are performing the Anticipate Needs action, for they are rolling their tier to generate a boon. And they are going to spend 2 coin to add 1 die to hopefully make the value of this higher. They roll 4, so that is a minor boon that they have rolled. I am going to write that then into my notes for the faction, and because I declare this for the player factions when they do the Anticipate Needs action, they have chosen 2 actions for the Anticipate Needs action, and the boon in which they are generating is going to be, it can be, Anticipate declares 2 actions. The 2 actions are scroll down, contend conflict. Wonder why the Society of Leopold anticipate they needed to have the contend conflict action in their boons. I don't know. You can ponder that amongst yourself. And also, weaken faction. So now, the Society of St. Leopold has a minor boon with the contend conflict action and the weaken faction action assigned to it. I'm just typing that into my notes and I'll let that sink in for all you guys. As we all know that conflict is on the horizon, or well, not on the horizon, it's in action for next month. For this month, for the month of November, we are in conflict between the group and the Society of St. Leopold. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I am excited. It is exciting stuff indeed. Scandalous indeed. Scandalous indeed. So, what is the... Well, this is no longer applicable, for there is no more Santapeos, pardon me, to be claimed and investigated. They are at 2 contempt. They're getting 1 contempt. And that brings us to a close of all the factions. Whew. I have 2 last things to do as this spooky, terrifying month comes to a close. I have to declare next turn's actions to y'all. I'm just going to pull them up for myself on my own screen because it is tiny in the little display window there. For a Kindred dispute action is at the Boston Fire Department. A mortal crime event is at Pleasure Bay. A masquerade breach event is at the Five Sisters. A decree enforcement event is at Blue Pearl Pet Hospital. A Kindred politics event is at Club Hassan. The harrowing Gestalt is hunting at Carson Beach. An occult curiosity is at Fort Independence. Another occult curiosity is at Club of Odd Volumes. A masquerade breach event is at Long Wharf. And one final thing. I imagine the most appropriate place to zoom in is this little bit here with the new acquisition of the SI. And I want to have the song played again. Because this is a critical moment, intense moment for you all. As I read out the narrative for the winter 2025 winter congressional bill that you have to vote on come December. The Second Inquisition has always been present in the minds of the kindred who reside within the city on a hill. But this past year, with a masquerade-straining murder in the combat zone, a neighborhood-wide quarantine in Chinatown, the Gemini League and Redcoats having to pack up and vacate domains that they control, the group's constant and proverbial standoffs with the Leos boiling over into open conflict, the First Light expanding their reach into Santarpeo. The Second Inquisition has shifted from the backbenches and now sits squarely in the front row of each kindred's mind. More and more kindred have vocalized their concerns to one another, especially within these last tense months, with Prince Iverson's praxis up against its most intense scrutiny it has faced to date, and Primogen Dejan of Clan Tremere has come forward with a bold and radical proposal. In the speech in which he proposed this bill, he stated that although many of the new younger fledglings would squirm at this idea, firm and thorough maintenance of the masquerade was needed now more than ever. The masquerade already, officially at the very least, prohibits the use of technology. But Dejan has proposed an additional decree to be proclaimed. This decree would be that any kindred found to be in possession of a mobile phone on their very person is to be stripped of property or rank as punishment by the prince's judgment. This firm hand is to stop all kindred risking the nighttime society through the use of these modern devices, bolstering the Boston Camarillas in their Cold War against the hunters of the Second Inquisition. If the phone possession ban bill were to pass, all player factions and Boston Camarilla domain would lose game minus 6 scrutiny. Lose 6 scrutiny. Game minus 6 scrutiny. And all player factions who voted aye in this vote would gain minus 4 contempt. To vote aye in this bill is prudent alike. If the phone possession ban bill were to be tabled, however, all player factions will have 3 regular actions instead of the regular 2 actions during next term, January's term for those What that means, I'll do a little sidebar, is that instead of 2 regular actions on top of, you have on as default 2 actions, and then also any additional actions you do through boons, spending boons, and spending coin on cohorts that you have. If this bill was tabled during January's turn, which would be turn 6, you would have 3 regular actions. 4, having the bill be tabled means the idea of outright punishing those holding mobile phones isn't much of a fear. So mobile phone usage will skyrocket, and as mobile phone usage amongst Kindred skyrocket, so too does the scrutiny on all player faction domains and Boston Camarilla domains, for they will gain 4 scrutiny. You are correct, Two and Only JJ. No one should be using their phones anyway, right? So this should be a no-brainer. You gotta get off those gacha games, man. The SI are behind them all. Their SI are behind them. Well, there's much to be debated, I am sure, behind closed doors. And much for a particular set of factions to prepare. Stay safe out there in Boston's streets. Be careful when you walk by group domain. Don't get caught in the crossfire between the Society and St. Leopold and the mortal criminal and the kindred criminal business empire that is within Boston, known as the group. Stay safe, have a phenomenal November, and I will see you all in Elysium.